All right, welcome in everyone. You have the Whiskey Cops here. We have a very special treat today for you. What are we looking at today?
We're going to be looking at the Elijah Craig 18-year single barrel.
Very controversial bottle.
Yes. I mean, you'll find a lot of people, I'd honestly probably say you find more people that talk down and bad about an 18-year product from a legacy distillery in Heaven Hill, which is kind of crazy to think about. But that's why we're here, to kind of take our view on it, let you know it, and see whether or not it's something you want to track down.
And this way we can try it and let you know what we think, and maybe that'll help you educate your decision on whether it's worth spending money on it or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, as always, we recommend you don't drink unless you are of age wherever you're at. And obviously, it depends on what country you're in. But if you're in the good old US of A, that's 21, and then somewhere else, yeah, whatever it is there. But yeah, we don't recommend you don't drink underage, and we also recommend you drink responsibly. So yeah, but this is the bottle. Beautiful bottle. I'll put it up on your guys' screen as I normally do as well. But yeah, I got it for MSRP. So
Heck yeah, baby.
$172.95, $173 right around there. That's what we got. Got it in a non-tax hungry state.
So yeah, not a cheap bottle. I think you probably agree, right?
Not a cheap bottle.
Definitely something that's positioned more as like a premium offering. It's not a bottle that you're just gonna buy willy-nilly per se. I mean, everyone's budget's differently, so if you're like, I would, then power to you. But I think for most of us, that's gonna be like a special bottle, a special purchase. So how does it hold up under the weight of those expectations? Because at $172.99 or $172.99, I think it's fair to say you are hoping for a more special whiskey experience, and does it deliver?
Yep, and to be fair with that price too, you have to kind of weigh in the fact, especially if you're on a limited budget, there's other really good bottles you could get for that. You could get a couple of really good bottles, maybe even 3 or 4 really good bottles of bourbon for that price. So
absolutely,
it's kind of tricky. I will say too, when we've talked about the $10 rule before, which $10 rule per year.
$10 per year in the barrel is typically, I don't even know who makes these sort of guidelines up. I know that it exists, right? Like it's just like a cultural thing almost to a point. Like if you go to Japan, they say don't spend more than 1,000 yen on a bowl of ramen, and it's just a hard line for whatever reason. But it is, I think, a fairly widely accepted and to some extent expected norm within the whiskey world that at least for bourbon, for every 10 years in the barrel, you're willing to pay $10.
Yep, and I mean with an 18-year, you apply the logic there. It appears that we're getting a deal.
Yeah.
For an 18-year bottle, so we want to see if it lives up to that. And I will say as well that $10 per year rule is a bourbon-specific rule.
Yes.
When it comes to Scotch,
great point.
When it comes to Scotch, you will rarely find it. And the lower-end Scotches you can get it sometimes, but you'll rarely find a Scotch that applies to that rule. I often see that for really nice Scotches, you're looking more $20 a year. Which I would happily pay for some of these scotches that I have in my collection. But so the rule's a little bit different. And then on the other end of that too, if you have a 30-year port wine, for example, because I also enjoy a good port wine, you shouldn't pay $300 probably for that bottle. That's quite high for port. You should pay maybe 100 or less for that bottle. So yeah, it's so varied. But that rule is very specific to this. But yeah. Is there anything else we should know about this bottle before we crack it open? And it's unopened. I haven't opened my bottle yet, so we're going to take a look here.
I'm going to refrain from commenting on this particular bottle because I have heard and seen and read a lot of different reviews on this bottle, and I don't want to prime my mind too much on what to expect, good or bad, because I want to give this bottle the fairest shake possible. Because if you're watching this video, you've probably watched other videos on Elijah Craig 18, and we want to give you our unique perspective. So, fair question. I'm normally happy to kind of give some thoughts. Just for this particular one, I want to go into as blind as possible and just see what comes out the other side.
I think that's fair. And I haven't done any reading on it. I just think about how much I paid for it and what kind of value I expect from it. So I'm honestly just kind of curious. I don't even know what to expect really from it, to be honest. I don't think I've ever had a product that's going to be quite like this one, so we're just going to have to see from there. But yeah, so
shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's open her up.
Okay.
Let's get ourselves going into here. And again, I have not opened this bottle. So, and this is, in case you're wondering too, this is it's a 45% 90 proof. So I can't remember if we mentioned that or not, but in case we didn't, that's what it is.
Yep.
I know obviously you can look all that stuff up really easily, but it's kind of helpful for us to show you. We're here to teach you about it and talk about it, so it makes sense. Yeah, let's go ahead and I'll pour us a glass here.
All right, here we go. Thank you, kind sir.
Absolutely. A little in here for me. All right.
For 18 years, 90 proof, first impressions just kind of looking at the whiskey in the glass. Anything stand out to you, positive, negative, that fuels your initial impressions? And granted, you drink whiskey. But again, in the food world, they say you eat with your eyes first. There is some truth to that in the world of whiskey. Anything pop out to you?
I'm trying to comment on the color of it, or think of how I want to put it. I think for what I paid for the bottle, with me wanting, this is just a personal preference, me typically liking barrel proof stuff.
Me too.
I almost want it to be a barrel proof, which I know it's not. I recognize it's not a barrel proof. And so for me, I look at the color and I'm like, I wish it was a little darker, like a little richer in color. But to be fair, I think for what it is, for being 90 proof, I actually think it has a really good color within it for what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I get from looking at it. But it looks nice.
Yes.
It also doesn't look like you're about to drink a glass of water that has some food coloring in it.
Correct, yeah. And I'd say there's nice legs kind of dripping down the glass as well, which is exciting. I would say that just upon looking at it, there's that slightly lighter hue, but especially if you drink scotch, which I know you're more into scotch than I am. I'm not quite sure where you are in your whiskey journey, if you dabble much into the single malts. A lot of them look like this, and they're still full of flavor, and as far as that is concerned, if these were blacked out Glencairns, it would be a non-factor anyways. I would say that I am battling within my own mind the perception of it's lighter in color, there's going to be less flavor. But I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready now to kind of, give it a full kind of review here and see, hey, is it good? Is it good for the price? Is it good as a whole in a vacuum? Let's find out.
And what kind of flavor note should we look for in this?
I love sweet oak. I love when a bottle has an oak that does a good job of accentuating the flavors without taking it over.
Yes.
So I'm looking for that. I mean, 18 years in a barrel for someone who likes oak. If there isn't any oak, I'm gonna be like, what did you do, Heaven Hill? Oftentimes Elijah Craig, if it does skew negative, there'll sometimes be a Sharpie note, like a black Sharpie note. I sometimes get on certain batches of Elijah Craig barrel proof. I'm hoping that doesn't show up because I'm not crazy about that note. I also love a deep brown sugar note that Heaven Hill does a really, really good job of. A lot of whiskey, a lot of bourbon goes caramel heavy. I feel like Elijah Craig, for me and my palate, goes more brown sugar heavy. And I enjoy that. Almost like a brown butter cookie almost. So if I get any of that, I'm going to be very happy.
Yeah, I think I do. I like a good, like a brown sugar molasses kind of flavor in there. Put some of that in there. Yeah, I like some of that in there. I think one of the biggest things that I've heard about this is like a lot of people get really critical that it has a little too much oak in it. I think that the people that are haters of it, that don't like it, I think they're worried about that.
Yeah.
So, we'll have to see.
On the nose, it smells pretty good.
It does, yeah.
Just on a blind nose, I anticipate liking this whiskey, which I'm happy about, right?
Yeah.
At $172.99. Granted, this was your bottle from your collection, granted, so I have the benefit of not quite having the same skin in the game, but it's a bottle that I've picked up before on shelves, put it back, and then went back home and regretted it, went back to the store to buy it, and it wasn't there. Which I was kicking myself for a little bit, so I'm really glad you bought it.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to help buy or spare you that same buyer's or not buyer's remorse, or if it's bad, to tell you, good job, leave it on the shelf.
Yeah, and I mean honestly, when I bought it, I saw it. They had one bottle on the shelf. I saw the price, and I saw that it was an 18 year. I've had other Elijah Craigs that I enjoyed, and I was like, I can't imagine that it's bad.
Yeah.
And so I took a risk on it, and I'm hoping that pays off today, and I think it's going to. It smells delicious.
It does. It smells like there's like a sweet, bready maltiness to it with a little bit of maple syrup. I get a little maple syrup on there, which as a whole kind of reminds me of like a nice breakfast at home with pancakes and syrup and all that kind of stuff. Or, not to brag, but just got back from Belgium, where they do a lot of good waffles, and in their waffles, they do like a half a cup of just straight granulated sugar in their waffles, which really adds a nice sweetness to it. And that kind of sweet breadiness, almost like a Liege Belgian waffle, is kind of what I'm getting from at least the nose.
Like drinking the essence of a Belgian waffle.
Yeah.
With some alcohol in it.
Yeah. So taking this in bite sizes, just based off what you're smelling so far, are you happy with your purchase knowing what you paid for it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. I would say if they somehow let me smell it in the store, which would be weird.
Yeah, it would be
But if
weird.
they did let me smell it in the store, I would be like, I would buy that.
But also, if you own a liquor store and you do that, I'm going to be a great patron of yours.
Yeah,
So,
just let us know. Let us know.
weird, but
Yeah.
also kind of recommend it. So,
Yeah, I mean, it smells delicious. Yeah,
should we taste it?
I think we should. I think it's time.
Let's do it. My first impression is not a tasting note. It is literally just a first impression, and that is for a 90 proof bourbon.
I know exactly what you're about to say.
You're getting a lot going on in there.
Yeah.
Is that what you thought I was going to say?
Yes.
Yeah, for 90 proof bourbon, there's a lot going on.
Water added.
Water added, yes. For things that are, okay, let's say for scotches or single malts, I feel like as a collective whole, they do a lot better job than bourbon and American whiskeys in general at packing a lot of flavor into a lower proof.
And I mean, I still have some of that flavor still, it lingers.
Yes.
It sticks around, and especially and I'll say even too with this, like, and I think kind of going off that same thing, yes, it's a 90 proof, but honestly, if you would have given to me that blind and not told me to guess the proof, I actually would have guessed a fair amount higher, like not crazy, but like I would have guessed it sat around 100 proof. Because if I think about when I think of also too, I mean off of Heaven Hill, talking about that as well, I think of one of the bourbons that I drink regularly is the Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, and that's a 100 proof right there. Mm-hmm. And I think I think this has a similar kick, if you will, to that. However, this is much more flavorful.
Yeah.
I mean, this is delicious.
Yeah.
I don't even know everything I've tasted yet, but I know that I liked it.
This is a complex 90 proof bourbon, which is just not a sentence I say very often. Words are hard.
It's hard to put words to it too, and I mean,
Yeah.
just drinking that too, it feels like you're chasing like a ring of flavors
Yeah.
that
great
all are
way to phrase
delicious,
it.
and you're trying to figure out how to describe those.
So the last flavor note that I got on the back of the palate, which is not one that I get a lot, and I like sweets, I like candy, I won't lie. I got a little bit of a red Sour Patch Kids, which now, well, I guess now that there's a blue Sour Patch Kids, it might be tied for first. It is my favorite Sour Patch Kids. And
Blue's better.
Tied, right? I can't
Red
really
second to
argue
me,
it.
but yes, yeah, they're both good.
Just at the very back, it popped out as this really sweet, soft candy taste. And there's definitely still that maple syrup. You're going to get, obviously, caramel because it's a bourbon. The oak is there, but for those who are worried that this is an oak bomb, for those that are concerned that I'm going to get this and feel like I'm chewing on wood.
Yeah, it's not there.
It's not there. So, how would you rate your own interests, your own desire for there to be oak in your bourbon?
Yours is going to be higher than mine.
Yeah, I would think so.
I think you like the oak a little bit more than I do. I like it to be I like it to be there. I like there to be, when it should be there, I like it to be there, but I like it to be in the background. I don't want it to have the stage, you know? And so I want it to be there in the background, but not to be overpowering. And I don't even necessarily want it to be a primary flavor.
Okay.
And one thing I will say as well, after I set this down after having the first couple sips, and then I picked it up again, strangely enough, and obviously anytime you're drinking bourbon, when you first take in some bourbon, the alcohol is going to hit you a little bit.
Yes.
Because your mouth has to adjust to that. So having that adjusted and then going back and sipping it more, it was my third sip for me. So I did the first two pretty close in succession. I take back everything I said about it being 100 proof tasting like. I take all of it back. Yeah. It dropped back down. To me, it almost went below 90 proof a little bit there.
Okay.
It just tasted so much smoother. I just have to say whatever you're going to say, but I have to go back in for more. Yeah. I just can't get enough of it.
I would say there's no like alcohol burn to it. There's no ethanol burn. And at 90 proof, I think you could reasonably expect that. Yeah. Some additional things that just came to my palate was cardamom, which is a really welcome baking spice. Cinnamon's very common. Cinnamon is not a bad flavor, but I think it's more common. When I get distinctly cardamom, I love that. Also got a little lemon zest in there. And when you think about like the totality of all the different flavor notes we've talked about so far, you would never think, at least I would never think, that all those flavor notes are happening in one whiskey. A really sweet red Sour Patch flavor, maple syrup, a sweet pastry like a Belgian Liege waffle, cardamom, lemon zest, a really supportive oak flavor. All that in one 90 proofer. I am impressed. I'm madly impressed with this and for what they're able to do at that 90 proof point to be as soft as it is. Yeah. I'm impressed. I have some more perspective things I want to say about, but just from a smell flavor, a perspective flavor, this is a win. I think they did a great job here with this. If this was on my shelf, it absolutely would be something that I may save the best for last kind of guy, and it'd be one of those bourbons I'd be drinking last.
Yeah, it's almost like a dessert bourbon. Yeah, that's how I'd put it. Like it's a good after the meal because it's a good closer for an evening. I would say that about it. And I thought in my head about another thought I had about it. And I was trying to quantify it to kind of describe the complexity of flavor. If you guys are Scotch drinkers out there, you'll understand what I'm saying when I say this. This is an 18-year bourbon. 18-year Scotches are pretty common. Right. They're a little bit more. They're like your kind of medium to high tier Scotches usually. If I think of like maybe not a Macallan 18, that might be a little bit up there in price. But if I think of like a good Glenfiddich 18, if you could quantify the flavor into points that this has, and you could quantify the flavor into points that a Glenfiddich has, I think that they both are on par with the amount of flavor. Obviously, completely different whiskeys. The flavor is completely different. So I'm not saying that Elijah Craig 18 is going to be, it tastes like a Glenfiddich. No, it doesn't taste like a Scotch. It tastes like a bourbon. But if I consider like the amount of flavor and what you're getting out of it, I think you could compare it to a Scotch. Okay. And Scotches are also kind of in that lower proof point as well, because most Scotches are blended. Yep. Or single malts that have been watered down a bit. But yeah, so I think it just has such a richness to it. And if you think too, if you thought, am I going to buy this, or if I'm looking at an 18-year Scotch, I mean, 173. If you're comparing prices, like you're pretty close in there. I mean, the Scotch is probably going to be, depending on what brand of Scotch you're buying, it's probably going to be in that price range, maybe a little bit more for the Scotch. Right. It's good.
I'm super happy to say that I also just got a vanilla extract. Vanilla is a very common flavor in bourbon. And if you're like, hey, I got vanilla as a tasty note, like, bravo, because it's probably in there. But vanilla extract, I think, is a more refined version of it. And then a friend of ours just gave us for, it's a little past holidays now, like some homemade vanilla extract. So I've been kind of like walking by and sniffing it. I used some to make some homemade Belgian waffles. Yes, I'm on that again. And I got that again, but this is like my fourth or fifth sip. So there's still like new I mean, Vill's not a curveball taste note, but there's still new flavors being introduced throughout a sip, right? When I think about a complex whiskey, whether it be Scotch, bourbon, something else, it's where it's not just a 1, 2, or 3 noter, that you can sit through a whole pour, whether it be an ounce, ounce and a half an ounce, and you're continuously being challenged in a good way with new tasting notes coming to the forefront. And it does it marvelously. I could continue to compliment it for that, but I have not personally had many things at this proof point do that. And so I just could not be more impressed with what they did. Maybe in previous years, it is a single barrel, so I think it's important to kind of point that out. Maybe we just got a really good one.
It's true.
And maybe other people did not, but I'm not gonna complain about it, right? That's part of single barrel roulette, right? That sometimes you get a really, really good one, and I'm telling you, we got a really good one. And one other thing, just on texture perspective, we did a review on Well 12 year not too long ago.
Yep.
And that one did, granted, $50 or $45 MSRP, very different, right?
Yeah.
That one definitely stood out to me as it's a little watery, right? If I had COVID and I lost all my sense of taste and smell, and you gave it to me, I wouldn't be able to differentiate it from water. This is not that thin. It is thinner compared to some barrel proof whiskeys, obviously, but it has some body to it, which for a 90 proof, super happy.
I mean, I want to go back to that barrel, which I know has been bottled. And I wish I could go back in time and I could get a barrel proof out of it too. Mm-hmm. Like if you took that and then you cranked that up to a barrel proof, that would have to be money. Absolute money.
Yes. So to your point about that, and also to an earlier point that you made about how you could get maybe a few, easily 2 different bottles for this price point, I do think, because I could wax poetically about how good it tastes for longer, but I think we've established we both like it.
Good.
Both very happy with it.
Yeah.
I think another question that maybe you have that I certainly have is where does this fall in line value-wise within the whole line of Heaven Hill products, right? Heaven Hill is not a craft distillery.
Nope.
They have a very big, wide portfolio with varying amounts of costs and quality, right? So this is $172.99. Very good. We're looking here at an Elijah Craig barrel proof, right? This is the A124 batch. There's obviously tons of different batches out there. I've had this one before. I liked it. Wasn't my favorite, but I liked it. Was happy with it. $75 to $80, right? Yep. You have this one, private barrel. I have a private barrel as well. Not this one particularly. This one is handpicked, 9 years, 114.2 proof. Very good. I tried some off camera earlier. These range in price, but especially right now, with the bourbon market being a little more saturated, I've seen these as low as $40 on sale some places, which is crazy.
And if you see that, you got to pick it up.
You got to pick it up, but also seen them for $80 to $100, right?
Yep. And I think for that one, I want to say I spent around $60 for that bottle.
Okay.
I could be wrong. I want to say 60, 70 at the most. I don't think I definitely didn't spend more than 70 on it.
Steal and deal for $60.
Yep.
Great job, man. Great job. Some other products that, as this is a video on more like premium products, you have the Heaven Hill Heritage Collection, right? The 17-year that dropped a while ago, the 19-year that dropped in 2025. Those were about $300 compared to the $173 here.
Yeah.
You mentioned the barrel proof, right?
Yep.
The 19-year Heaven Hill barrel proof that came out for $500 in 2025. I know there's only like a little over 1,000 of those bottles, so you're probably not gonna find it. Maybe a pour at a fancy bar.
Yeah.
That's $500. This is $173. Where do you feel like this would fall, value proposition wise, in terms of how you would allocate your funds in terms of what to purchase, what not to purchase?
It's a tough one. It really is. I think, we can sit here and tell you it's good. I mean, we can review. I could sit here and I could buy a a crazy, I could buy a $2,000 bottle of bourbon and review it in front of you and tell you it's good, and you'd be like, well, yeah, it's $2,000. Of course it's good, but you're gonna be like, but like, who's, you know, like, obviously if we get a bottle like that for whatever reason at a good price, we're of course gonna review it. But
Right.
I mean, like, one of the goals of this is like, is it bad? Is it good? Obviously it's controversial. Yes, we could have gotten lucky. So if you go try it and yours tastes like you're drinking a log, I'm sorry, and I hope that doesn't happen to you.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed that doesn't happen to you. This one is fabulous. And I would imagine that by and large, most of them would be at least of that caliber.
Yeah.
But is it worth $173 for you to buy it? And that's a tough thing. I would say if you're newer in your bourbon journey and you're trying to figure things out, I think there's some other key bottles you need to get first.
Yes. Yes, I'm glad you said that.
Yeah, and I think you would be better off saving the 173, and you'd be better off buying 3 really decent mid-level bottles that you don't have to build you up there. However, if you are like, I have a really good collection, you have a lot of different things, and you are in that range where you're like, you know what, I've been deciding whether or not to buy it. I'm not sure if it's worth $173. If you're in that boat, pull the trigger.
Yeah.
That's what we'd say about that, I think. I think we both agree on that.
Yeah.
And then I guess my next question for you would be, if you weren't in a state-run state somewhere, or you found this above MSRP, how much would you pay for this bottle?
How far would I be willing to go?
Yeah, how far would you be willing to go? That sounds more dramatic, and I really like it. How far would you go to get this bottle?
So I echo all the things that you just said about like who would be a good candidate to buy this versus who would not. I could not agree anymore, and I'm not even going to take any more time to further elaborate on that because I think you captured it perfectly.
And I mean, last week on the channel, we did a video on our top 6 bourbons under $50.
Yeah.
Go buy 3 of those instead.
Agreed.
If that's where you're at, you know, 3 of those that you don't have. But yeah, continue. Sorry.
I think that's a good question for me to answer because I am at that point in my whiskey journey. Well, I still love, you know, the workhorse $30, $40 bottles that are great, you know, easy sippers plus great mixers. I am at that point where I would rather spend more money on a really special bottle than 3 bottles that are, you know, really good but maybe not as good in a vacuum, right? So for me, the number that stands out is $180, right? It's not a ton more than MSRP. It is $10 per year. That's where my natural instinct went, considering a high tax thing. Out the door cost is consistent though, right? That's a different thing. I think that if I didn't have this bottle and I hadn't seen it for a while in my area, so that does fuel a little bit of the anxiety of like, I might not see this again.
Sure.
I'd probably go low 200s. I wouldn't go any higher than that. $200 is still, even for me with where I'm at my whiskey journey, a lot of money. But I gotta say it's 18 years, right? And like, if you enjoy trying to get other people into whiskey, okay? Like I enjoy being a whiskey ambassador where I try and get friends and family members that may be wine drinkers, beer drinkers, to try and get them to try new whiskeys that they like. I love it when I show someone and introduce someone to some whiskey that they haven't had before and they don't generally drink whiskey and they think and say to me, that was really good.
Yeah.
There's something about me, my heart just gets happy. And lower proof things go off easier for people who don't typically drink whiskey than a lot of the barrel proof stuff that us whiskey nerds and noobs love. So I think it's also a great bottle to show to somebody who may not like whiskey to try and help get them in there. Now it's a steep cost to pay just for that.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is you're not paying just for that because it's great on its own merits. At 90 proof though, it does give you that added advantage of being able to share with people who may not typically drink whiskey with the hopes that you can impress them with something. It's a beautiful bottle. It's 18 years. There's a good story behind it. I wouldn't go much over 200. I'd prefer 180 at tops. MSRP I think is gettable right now for this bottle. So I'd say stay around that area as much as you can, but don't go any further north than 200.
And I mean, honestly, on your shelf, it's a sleek looking bottle. It looks nice. It'll look nice on your shelf. So
Yeah.
not that you should probably pay $173 for a shelf decoration, but
Yeah.
you know, you live your life. But
Yeah.
yeah, lower proof stuff like that, I agree. It would be a really, if I had someone that that came over and they're like, I want to get into bourbon. Like, what are a couple things I should try? That would be one I would want to pull off the shelf now that I've had it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people out there that have thought they want to get into bourbon and have tried it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Have been misguided, and then it's kind of thrown them off.
Right.
Rather they tried the wrong thing, or they tried, because if you are a lover of bourbon as well, I caution you on this too. If someone comes over and they say they want to get into bourbon, most of the time your favorite bottle is not what to give them. It just is what it is. It just is what it is, because you have a refined taste if you've been having bourbon for a while. So what you enjoy is going to be very different. And I mean, even I'd also encourage you to think back to when you first got into bourbon, what you liked then.
Yeah.
Think about that. Think about what got you into that. Because I do believe that drinking bourbon and enjoying it and all the craft that goes into it, and even the craft that goes into enjoying it, it is a journey. And I know we talk about our bourbon journey. It is a journey. You go different places. You start one end and you get to another by the end of it. And I'm sure in another 10 years, we're both going to be in a completely different spot, which is great. But yeah, I mean, overall, I would say big thumbs up to it. And I think with what you said too about paying for it, I think that's dead on. I think 180 in a tax-heavy state would be reasonable for that bottle.
Yeah.
I think I would go up to 220 out the door.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'd go, sitting right there in those 200s.
Yeah.
I think that's decent. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
And you know, we showed you a couple bottles earlier, and this will kind of be like my final thought on it is, compared to other things in the Heaven and Hill product lineup, right? I think with Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, by nature of the fact that it is barrel proof, you're getting those really deep, richer flavors on some batches. And you get that bottle for that reason. At 90 proof, is it the deepest flavor for all the flavors we mentioned? No. But I'd say this much. Elijah Craig 18-year single barrel is more complex than I think all the Elijah Craig barrel proofs that I've had.
Yeah.
So if you like complex bourbon, ones that are constantly surprising you with new tasty notes throughout your sitting, I think that is where it kind of separates itself as a differentiator, right? That's why it's different than a barrel proof. That's why you buy this versus just loading up on 3 different versions of Elijah Craig barrel proof, right? Is the complexity, the journey that it takes you on within the one sip. I don't get that as much with those private barrel picks. They're very good for what they do. I love a good, deep, dark, rich, flavored Elijah Craig barrel proof like the next person, but this is different. It is different than that, and I have so much respect and appreciation that I could sit by a crackling fireplace and go through 10 different tasty notes in a 15-minute session with an ounce pour. I like it for that reason. I think it fits very well, actually, at its price point in the totality of the Heaven and Hill product lineup. Yeah,
I think it's priced very reasonably for what it is. And I think too, earlier even I was talking about the color, and as we're sitting here, if I think of like looking at, I have the private barrel, which is a barrel proof. I mean, in terms of the coloring, if you poured both these in a glass, I would struggle to tell you the difference.
Yeah.
Which, just makes me feel bad for judging it earlier. And it's, but it just shows you how much flavor's in that for what it is. So, yeah, I mean, anything else you can think of to mention? I mean, I think our unless you're doing your bourbon journey, but if you're looking for something good and if you've been eyeing this bottle and you've been just wondering if you should pull the trigger or not, and it's in your price range, I would go get it.
Do it.
Go out and get it right now, immediately.
Great buy.
Yep, great buy. Yep, absolutely. If you've seen it, or if you see it again, now you know. Like, I mean, that's what our opinion is. I think you're good. And let us know too down below if you've had any other of the 18 years. If you had like a really bad one, like let us know. Like, I am curious to know, because I'm sure it exists. Unfortunately, I'm sure it exists. Because again, and hopefully, I hope to goodness that we didn't just get like the best one they've ever made. It's possible. Like, that's just the thing with single barrels. Like, you just don't.
No.
So I hope that that's not the case. But again, we want to know what you guys think. Have you guys tried this before? And if you're still nervous about pulling the trigger, maybe go to a nice whiskey bar or something like that. See if you can find a bottle and you can have a little sip. You're going to pay a lot for that sip probably, but but maybe you just want to be more cautious about it and kind of try it out. So
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. So yeah, but I think that's what we got. Yeah, thank you guys for joining us today on this video. Yeah, we've had a wonderful time. I hope you guys learned something about Elijah Craig, and I hope you guys have been able to make an informed decision for you. But if you guys enjoyed, drop a like down below. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button up on the screen to join the Whiskey Cops channel and turn your notification bell so you don't miss any future videos we may post. This has been the Whiskey Cops. We'll see you guys in the next one.